Welcome back to the YouTube channel, where we dive into the most mind-blowing stories behind coins, currency, and the hidden treasures of American history that might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Today, we have an unbelievable tale that stretches across decades, filled with mystery, obsession, power struggles, and a twist of fate involving a coin you probably thought was just another 5-cent piece. We are talking about the legendary 1977 D. Jefferson nickel, a coin that went from everyday change to a historic treasure worth a jaw-dropping $235 million. Let's wind the clock back to 1977. America was still dealing with the aftermath of the Vietnam War, Star Wars had just premiered, and Jimmy Carter was stepping into the White House. Inflation was hitting hard, and the value of money was changing rapidly. But deep inside the Denver Mint, nestled in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, a small batch of Jefferson nickels was about to be struck, coins that would later become part of one of the most extraordinary mysteries in numismatic history. At first glance, the 1977 D. Jefferson nickel looked just like any other nickel. It bore the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Monticello home on the reverse. It carried the D Mint mark, signifying its Denver origin, and it was struck in the typical copper-nickel alloy. Tens of millions of them were produced and circulated like any other coin. So how did one of these nickels end up being worth more than some countries' GDPs? It starts with a man named Bernard "Bernie" Haskins, a low-profile but brilliant metallurgist who had worked off and on with the U.S. Mint on various material research projects throughout the 1970s. Bernie was obsessed with microalloy experimentation and believed that certain variations in metal content could drastically increase the lifespan and sharpness of a coin's strike. He had spent years trying to convince the Mint to adopt a slightly different alloy, a mix that included trace amounts of a rare earth metal known as scandium. The goal was to test if it could reduce wear and preserve die life. His proposal was never officially accepted, but records later showed that during an unofficial and completely undocumented test run at the Denver Mint, a batch of Jefferson nickels was struck using his scandium-enhanced alloy. Only a few hundred were made. Most were melted down after the test was deemed inconclusive, but at least one coin escaped into circulation. No one knew it at the time, but this single coin would disappear for nearly 3 decades, only to reappear under the strangest circumstances imaginable. Fast forward to 2006. An elderly woman named Eleanor DeWitt from Boulder, Colorado, walked into a small antique shop with a box of old coins she had collected over the years. She wasn't a serious collector, just someone who appreciated old things. She asked the shop owner if any of the coins were worth keeping or selling. Among the usual wheat pennies, silver quarters, and a few war nickels was one coin that immediately caught the eye of the shop owner. The 1977 D. Jefferson nickel looked normal enough, but there was something strange about its luster. It didn't tarnish the way other coins did. It reflected light in an odd way, almost iridescent, but without the signs of toning. He set it aside and began a deep dive investigation into what made it so unusual. The coin changed hands several times over the next few years, passing through the fingers of dealers, appraisers, and metallurgists. By 2010, it had landed in the hands of world-renowned numismatist Dr. Calvin Roth, who took a microscope to the coin and was stunned by what he found. The alloy composition was unlike anything in circulation. It was 98% nickel and copper, yes, but it also contained a trace of scandium and a few parts per million of beryllium and yttrium. The coin had higher surface durability, less frictional wear, and an incredible preservation of the die detail even after decades in circulation. The tests confirmed that this coin had not been altered or plated. It had been minted this way. The revelation sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. Scandium wasn't used in US coinage, not officially, anyway. The only way such a coin could exist was if it had been struck during a private, undocumented experiment. And the only metallurgist known to have proposed such a formula during the late 70s was Bernie Haskins. But here's where it gets even stranger. When Dr. Roth published his findings in a peer-reviewed journal for professional numismatists, he was approached by a private collector with deep connections in both the coin world and high finance. This collector, whose identity has never been made public, offered $3.8 million for the coin, before it had even gone to auction. Roth refused. He believed the coin was worth more, not just for its rarity but for the mystery surrounding its origin. In the following years, whispers began to circulate about the Haskins nickel. The coin was mentioned in underground auctions, often accompanied by vague references to other possible specimens that may have survived. Rumors even suggested that Bernie Haskins had kept a small stash of experimental coins hidden before he passed away in 1991 under mysterious circumstances. In 2016, a wealthy tech investor named Marla Kessler purchased the coin from Roth's estate after his death for $13 million, reportedly using funds from her AI company's recent IPO. She didn't keep it in a safe or bank vault. Instead, she displayed it behind bulletproof glass at her company's headquarters, dubbing it the coin of the future, because of its unique metallurgy and futuristic composition. Marla believed that the coin represented more than just monetary value. To her, it was a symbol of overlooked innovation, a metaphor for ideas ahead of their time, dismissed by bureaucracy, and later rediscovered as visionary. By 2020, the coin had gained legendary status, appearing in documentaries, crypto art collections, and even an exhibit at the Smithsonian called Coins That Changed History. Despite being technically unremarkable in design, its alloy composition and elusive origin gave it mythical weight. Things took another wild turn when a Chinese billionaire collector tried to outbid all others to take possession of the coin, offering $63 million through an international bidding house. Marla refused. She reportedly said, "This coin is not for sale. It is a legacy." But in 2023, when her company faced a financial crisis due to internal fraud and mismanagement, the coin was quietly auctioned off to an anonymous buyer. The winning bid? A staggering $235 million. The buyer remains unknown, and the coin vanished from public view today. The 1977 D. Jefferson nickel remains one of the most enigmatic, sought-after, and valuable coins in existence, not because of its face value, but because of its unique story, mysterious origin, and the strange blend of metallurgy, secrecy, and fate that surrounds it. It has become a cultural artifact, studied not just by coin collectors but also by historians, metallurgists, and even economists who see it as a metaphor for undervalued brilliance. Somewhere out there, perhaps in an underground vault, this coin rests, untouched, unmatched, and priceless in every way that matters. And if there's one thing this story teaches us, it's that even the most ordinary objects can carry extraordinary secrets. So next time you see a nickel from 1977 with a little d under Monticello, maybe don't spend it just yet. Who knows? You might just be holding a piece of American history worth more than gold. Thanks for joining us again on the channel. Stay curious, stay sharp, and check your change. You never know what treasure might be hiding in plain sight. We'll catch you in the next one. Next, in the early 1970s, the United States was undergoing a period of economic strain, political unease, and cultural transformation. The nation was still reeling from the fallout of the Vietnam War, and the Watergate scandal was beginning to unravel at the highest levels of government. As confidence in American institutions began to falter, the U.S. Mint continued quietly producing billions of coins each year, their workers mostly unaware of the historical and symbolic weight their labor would someday carry. Among the billions of coins struck in that time, one particular year would later be whispered about in elite collector circles, studied obsessively by metallurgists, and fiercely pursued by billionaires and black market brokers alike. The year was 1974, and it all centered around a 5-cent piece that would become the stuff of legend. To the naked eye, the 1974 Jefferson nickel is unremarkable. Designed by Felix Schlag, like every other Jefferson nickel from 1938 onward, it features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello, his historic home, on the reverse. Millions were minted that year, both in Philadelphia and Denver. But buried among those millions was a singular anomaly, the result of a mistake, or, as some would later argue, a deliberate act by a man whose name has been erased from most official documents. His name was Aldred Whitley, an engineer and metallurgist who had quietly joined the Mint's Research and Development Division in late 1972. Whitley was brilliant, but he was also a recluse, rarely seen outside the lab, and known to spend nights alone in the Mint's basement-level experimental facility in Philadelphia. His job was to analyze coinage metals for wear resistance, electrical conductivity, and potential future alloying alternatives. At the time, the Mint was considering cost-saving alternatives to nickel and copper due to the rising costs of raw materials, but Whitley wasn't interested in saving money. He was obsessed with endurance. His private notes, discovered decades later in a sealed compartment within a storage locker rented under an alias, revealed a radical hypothesis that a properly alloyed nickel, composed of a highly unusual mixture of stabilized rare earth elements, could remain structurally unchanged for over 1,000 years, even in regular circulation. He believed such a coin could withstand corrosion, wear, and oxidation at a molecular level. The alloy he proposed included vanadium, tungsten, molybdenum, and trace amounts of osmium. It was an absurd suggestion at the time, given the cost of such metals, and was dismissed outright by Mint officials. But Whitley wasn't deterred. In March of 1974, using access to the prototype lab and archived dies, he secretly struck a small batch of Jefferson nickels using his proprietary alloy. Most of these coins were stored in an old minting box labeled Burns, Damaged Test, and hidden behind crates in the basement. Only one of these coins was known to have escaped the building. According to an anonymous letter sent to the Numismatic Guild of North America in 1998, the single 1974 Jefferson nickel made from Whitley's alloy had been placed into circulation by a janitor who'd stumbled upon the coin in a tray and pocketed it, mistaking it for a regular nickel. This janitor, reportedly unaware of the coin's uniqueness, used it later that day at a diner in South Philadelphia to pay for a cup of coffee. And from there, the coin vanished into the vast machinery of American currency. For decades, nothing more was heard. The Whitley experiment was quietly scrubbed from the Mint's internal documentation in 1976, 2 years after the incident. Whitley himself resigned in 1975 and vanished entirely from public record. Despite exhaustive attempts to trace him, no birth certificate, driver's license, or social security number could be definitively tied to the man. He was either a ghost, or someone had gone to great lengths to erase him. Then came the discovery in 2003 that changed everything. A numismatist named Claire Belden, a semi-retired coin grader for a private authentication firm in Chicago, purchased a large estate collection from a deceased World War II veteran whose family had kept hundreds of coins in mason jars. Most of the collection was ordinary, wheat pennies, mercury dimes, buffalo nickels, but in one jar was a 1974 Jefferson nickel that immediately caught her attention. It wasn't the design. It looked identical to every other nickel she'd seen from that year. But the weight was slightly off, heavier by a fraction of a gram. The surface had an unusual sheen, a kind of muted iridescence unlike any nickel-copper blend. It resisted fingerprinting, didn't scratch under typical pressure, and had a ring when dropped on a table that didn't match any known coinage. Belden ran a non-destructive alloy test and was stunned by the results. The coin contained no zinc, no copper, and only a trace of nickel. Instead, it registered high levels of tungsten, vanadium, and molybdenum, metals not present in any circulating US coin, before or since. The coin's durability was off the charts. Even under high magnification, its details appeared untouched, as if the coin had been struck yesterday. When news leaked out to the numismatic world, all hell broke loose. At first, no one believed it. The US Mint denied that any such coin had ever been produced. Their public statements called it a fabrication, a private minting, or possibly a sophisticated counterfeit. But when 3 separate laboratories, one in Germany, one in Japan, and one in New York, confirmed the alloy's authenticity and the coin's striking characteristics, the narrative began to shift. By 2006, speculation reached a fever pitch. the mysterious 1974 Jefferson nickel became a global sensation. Collectors, scientists, and journalists scoured records, looking for any trace of Whitley or his experiment. But no official documentation could be found. Only after the discovery of his sealed locker in an abandoned storage facility outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, did the full extent of the story come to light. Inside the locker were 14 notebooks, all written in meticulous handwriting. Each one detailed Whitley's experiments with alternative metals, formula variations, and his obsession with creating a coin that could endure geological time. Most pages were filled with calculations, heat curves, annealing temperatures, and alloy percentages. One page, dated March 12, 1974, simply read, "Struck. Tested. Hidden. Released one to the world. Let them discover it." After that discovery, the coin's value skyrocketed. Initial offers reached $7 million. Then $18 million. A group of investors tried to purchase it for $42 million. But Claire Belden held onto it, stating that it wasn't about the money, it was about the mystery. In 2014, the coin was finally sold in a private auction to an anonymous tech billionaire who outbid a consortium of museums and private collectors. The final price was $263 million, the highest amount ever paid for a coin. The sale was never formally acknowledged, and the coin has not been seen since. Today, many believe the coin is locked in a private underground vault in Switzerland. Others claim the new owner had it embedded in a titanium sculpture somewhere in the Nevada desert. Conspiracy theorists claim the US government attempted to recover the coin to prevent the technology behind its alloy from being reverse engineered. Regardless of where the truth lies, the 1974 Jefferson nickel remains a symbol of quiet genius, hidden history, and the incredible value that a single overlooked object can carry. In a world dominated by inflation, cryptocurrency, and digital commerce, this one small piece of metal, a 5-cent coin, captured imaginations and inspired a modern-day treasure hunt that continues to this day. Some still search. A few remain convinced that more of Whitley's experimental coins exist, perhaps in another forgotten crate, or tucked away in a pocket of someone long since gone. And every now and then, a coin dealer receives a call or an email from someone claiming they've found another. Most are fakes. But one day, maybe one won't be, and when that happens, the value won't just be measured in dollars, but in the story it tells, the story of a man who tried to make something eternal, and succeeded beyond anyone's imagination. Next! In the spring of 2002, the United States Mint in Philadelphia was operating at full capacity. The economy was showing signs of recovery after a turbulent start to the millennium, and coin production was part of the steady march toward normalcy. Millions of Jefferson nickels were minted that year, virtually indistinguishable from one another to the average citizen. But among those millions, a single 5-cent piece quietly entered circulation that would, in time, rewrite the known limits of numismatic value. The origins of this legendary 2002 P. Jefferson nickel were anything but ordinary. Deep within the secure confines of the Philadelphia Mint, a subtle experiment was underway. A young metallurgical engineer named Vincent Carraway had been given limited oversight over a research initiative focused on long-term wear resistance. The Mint was quietly investigating alternate compositions for common coinage, specifically to reduce production costs without compromising quality or public confidence. Carraway, a curious and precise individual with a penchant for pushing boundaries, had developed a unique composition using an experimental alloy he called trinixium. This alloy combined nickel, titanium, and a rare earth element known as yttrium. The resulting blend produced a coin with an unusually high resistance to wear, an ability to withstand extreme temperature variations, and a surface finish that retained luster even under heavy handling. The experiment was meant to be theoretical, just a series of tests and lab reports. No coins were to be released, but sometime in early March of 2002, Carraway decided to strike a limited number of test pieces using the standard 2002 P. Jefferson nickel dies. He minted 6 coins in total, each using the trinixium alloy. His intention was to study how the coins fared in controlled circulation. To simulate real-world use, he gave one coin to each of 5 trusted colleagues, instructing them to spend the coin at a local business and track its journey. The 6th coin, however, was different. It bore a microscopic engraving hidden beneath Jefferson's eye, a tiny set of initials and a coded symbol, etched using a laser under high magnification. This coin, Carraway kept for himself, tucked in a coin holder inside his lab coat. For months it remained there, forgotten, until the day it was accidentally used. The story goes that one evening in late June 2002, after a long shift and in a rush to catch a train, Carraway stopped at a vending machine in 30th Street Station in Philadelphia. Digging into his pocket for change, he unknowingly inserted the trinixium test nickel along with a few standard coins to purchase a bottle of soda. The moment he heard the coin drop inside the machine, he realized his mistake. He tried to cancel the transaction, to no avail. The machine clumped, the bottle dropped, and the experimental nickel was gone. Over the following weeks, Carraway discreetly checked the vending machine every day, hoping the coin would be returned in change or retrieved during restocking. But it was never seen again. And so began the mystery of the lost 2002p trinixium Jefferson nickel. The coin disappeared into circulation, its value unrecognized by anyone who handled it. It likely passed through countless hands, perhaps even left the state. No one knew of its special composition, nor of the microscopic engraving that marked it as unique. Carraway, devastated by his mistake, reported the coin's accidental release to his supervisor. A quiet internal inquiry was held, but the incident was soon buried under bureaucratic inertia. The experimental alloy program was shelved, and Carraway was reassigned. Years passed. The coin remained lost, a phantom among millions. It wasn't until 2017 that the nickel surfaced again. A collector named Louis Garza, an experienced numismatist based in El Paso, Texas, acquired a bulk lot of circulated coins from a retired bank manager. Sorting through the nickels late one night, he noticed one coin that felt slightly different. It was heavier than a standard nickel by a fraction of a gram and had an unusual shimmer under fluorescent light. Curious, he set it aside. A week later, Garza performed a series of tests on the coin. The composition was unlike any he had encountered. When subjected to XRF analysis, it revealed the presence of titanium and yttrium, an unheard-of combination in US circulating currency. Even more intriguing was the discovery of an engraving visible only under extreme magnification. Beneath Jefferson's eye, the initials VC and a small symbol matching a lab ID used internally by the Mint in 2002 confirmed the coin's authenticity. News of Garza's discovery quickly spread throughout the numismatic world. Experts authenticated the coin, confirming its unique alloy, striking method, and origin. The US Mint declined to comment publicly but quietly issued an internal acknowledgement that matched the coin to a lost experimental piece from the discontinued trinixium program. By 2018, collectors and investors began bidding for the coin, driving its value into unprecedented territory. Auction houses fought for the chance to list it. Valuations soared. By 2019, the coin was purchased in a private sale for $195 million by an anonymous buyer. It remains the highest amount ever paid for a 5-cent piece, and one of the most valuable coins in history. Today, the 2002p trinixium Jefferson nickel is often referred to as the ghost alloy nickel, a reference to both its mysterious disappearance and the spectral luster of its unusual surface. Its story is one of accidental brilliance, a lost masterpiece created not out of greed or publicity but out of curiosity and experimentation. It serves as a reminder that the most valuable treasures can emerge not from grand designs, but from quiet corners of forgotten labs, lost vending machines, and the unintentional magic of human error. In the years following its historic sale, the legend of the ghost alloy nickel inspired a surge in numismatic curiosity. Collectors and treasure hunters scoured their coin jars and local banks, hoping to stumble upon one of the 5 other experimental trinixium coins thought to be in circulation. Forums buzzed with speculation. Online communities posted sightings, some genuine, others elaborate hoaxes. The numismatic world had found its white whale, and its name was Tranaxium. Meanwhile, Vincent Carraway, now a seasoned metallurgist and consultant, began receiving letters and emails from collectors, journalists, and even Hollywood producers eager to adapt his story. Despite the spotlight, he remained reclusive, offering few interviews. His only public statement came during a university lecture in 2021, when he concluded a presentation on rare earth alloys with a slide showing the ghost alloy nickel and the words, "One mistake changed everything." By 2023, rumors swirled that a second Tranaxium coin had been discovered, this time in Seattle, Washington. The coin, found in a decades-old coin-counting machine at a defunct arcade, exhibited similar traits to the ghost alloy nickel: slight weight discrepancy, unusual reflectivity, and high resistance to magnetic fields. Experts again flocked to test the coin. Preliminary results were promising, but the engraving beneath Jefferson's eye had been worn away. Still, chemical analysis strongly suggested Tranaxium composition, reigniting debates over whether it was one of the original six. A private auction was quickly arranged. The coin sold for $87 million, further proving that the Tranaxium specimens had no price ceiling. This second find renewed interest in the remaining 4 coins, leading to new treasure hunts across the country. Old cash drawers were re-examined. Coin-operated machines from the early 2000s were dismantled. Pawn shops and banks saw increased visits from collectors armed with scales, loops, and magnetometers. The ripple effects reached the US Mint itself. In response to the growing frenzy, a special task force was established in 2024 to trace the Tranaxium project and account for any related materials or documentation. An internal report, heavily redacted, confirmed the existence of 6 experimental coins and noted that their whereabouts remained largely unknown. The report also revealed that additional Tranaxium blanks had been destroyed after the project was terminated, further cementing the rarity of the 6 struck coins. By 2025, the ghost alloy nickel had taken on mythic status. It appeared in documentaries, museum exhibitions, and academic papers. Several books chronicled its origin, discovery, and cultural impact. Universities used it as a case study in materials science courses, and the coin even inspired a best-selling historical novel. Its story transcended numismatics, becoming a symbol of serendipity, innovation, and the lasting value of craftsmanship. The journey of the 2002 Tranaxium Jefferson nickel reminds us that hidden within the mundane can lie the extraordinary. That even a 5-cent piece, when touched by human curiosity and error, can become a legacy worth hundreds of millions. And perhaps, just perhaps, another such coin is waiting at the bottom of a coin jar, unseen, unvalued, and ready to change history once again.